Well, hello and welcome to the Human Resource. How many of you have individuals in your workplace that in your mind are anticipating retirement soon? If we look at the data, and we were told this, oh my goodness, years ago, that baby boomers were going to start leaving the workplace 10,000 a day. And when we think about the scope of that, some of us got very concerned and others not so much, because we were working with a very young workforce in many industries. But now that we're starting to see time go by and individuals are creeping up into that range where we feel, and I say this carefully, we feel that they should be thinking about retirement. From an HR perspective, we have to handle these situations very, very carefully. And so that's our topic today. I want to kind of walk through, how do we have these delicate conversations? And I have to thank Danielle for bringing this up this week, because, again, I need your suggestion. I need to know what you're struggling with or what you're being challenged with in your business to help you have the tools to get through some of this stuff. Retirement is a delicate situation. We all are going to have to do it, okay? So if you're in the HR capacity, at some point, you're going to have this conversation. So where do you start? Well, acknowledging that in 1967, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act was passed, making it a protected category. Age is something that we don't bring up. We don't use it in employment decisions. We don't use it in promotional decisions. We shouldn't be using it at all unless it's in a industry or a market of business where age can really cause some safety issues, where the individual simply can't do their job safely and jeopardize their own safety as well as the individuals around them. Right now, here in 2024, we're hearing multiple conversations about a president that may be too old to serve because of his conditions or because of safety issues. But when we're talking about the workplace, that comes back to your responsibility. It comes back to, how do you handle this conversation, and how do you handle your management team who may not be as sensitive to the proper way of carrying on these conversations. So let's talk about truly how to have a positive and constructive conversation that meets the needs of everyone involved. And to do that, we have to first start with, what are we trying to accomplish? Well, obviously, we want the needs of the business to be met. We have to keep everybody productive. We have to make sure that everybody is doing their job in the most efficient and most positive, productive way. But at the same time, we have to protect our employees. So going over to someone and saying, hey, by the way, I just noticed you turned 64. Wow. Getting ready for retirement? Are you getting excited? Hey, how's that retirement fund looking? Is it getting y'all ready to make the big exit? In the environment that we have today, those conversations, those comments can actually be very offensive to individuals, to your employees. So you have to go about this in a more, how do I say it, a more sensitive manner, and make them a partner, a part of the conversation. They are going to get to drive it. Let me just throw that out there now. They're going to get to drive this process with a few limitations. But for the most part, it should be a conversation that starts out with, hey, let's talk about your goals. You can actually say that. You can ask an individual in a one-on-one, in a performance evaluation, tell me, where do you see yourself moving forward in the company? Now, why is that safe? It's safe because you should be asking that same identical question to every other employee in the company. You should be looking at every employee and saying, how do you see yourself growing? What additional responsibilities would you like to have? What type of transfer are you looking at to grow within the company? Understanding that they are to be treated no differently than everybody else is a key player in here. And if you do this, if you start with those kind of comments or those kind of general, big, broad comments, they'll understand that it's safe and they'll feel more comfortable talking to you about a possible exit. Remember, you're looking ahead, you're planning ahead. So even if you just approach them and say, hey, I've got a couple individuals that I would like to see you groom. I want to make sure that your competencies, your knowledge, your expertise is shared. Again, this is helping them understand that they need to be grooming and their successors. But at the same time, isn't that what you want in every department? You want to make sure that one person isn't holding the wealth, whether they're 30 years old or whether they're 70 years old. You need to make sure that the teams that you have in the company are strong and collaborative. So again, going back to that individual and saying, hey, this is what I've got kind of planned as a strategy for your department or your clients. How do you see yourself helping me get to that strategy? Or how do you see your role evolving so that we can meet the needs of the business? If they can feel like they're taking some ownership, that we're not accelerating a conversation or we're not treating them differently than anybody else, the chances are if this individual has already started thinking about retirement, they're going to feel so much safer about opening up with you and saying, well, I really don't want those responsibilities because I really don't see myself here in a year. Or, well, I've already started training this person on these particular skill sets because I really think I'm looking at maybe retiring next year. That's when you know that you've done your job correctly. That's when you know, okay, they're the one who's brought up the retirement. They're the ones who've brought up an exit. So now we can both safely move forward with the plan that this was their idea and not ours. You see, even if you surround them with experts, let's say somebody who plans Medicare, helps them transition off your health plan to Medicare. If you bring in that retirement planner so that employees have an opportunity to work with them and optimize their funds, these are ways of letting individuals know that the company appreciates them. And it doesn't matter where you are in your career with us, we want you to feel comfortable making these transitions, either growing with the company or maybe backing out of your responsibilities. And we want to do this together. Partnering, whether it's in communication or in action, is vital. And as HR representatives, I cannot encourage you enough to make sure that these conversations are monitored and that they're constrained, I should say, that you don't have a team lead or a supervisor out there asking an employee, hey, when is it that you're leaving? You should be doing this. I can't have you involved in this meeting because aren't you going to be retiring in the next year? Those kind of comments are going to get you into trouble. But let's caveat off of that comment and talk about performance. You see, sometimes when people get tired, sometimes when people realize that they're at the end of their career, they're not trying quite as hard because they're not as hungry. So what happens? They become complacent. Their clients suffer. The company suffers. Our numbers suffer. And you ultimately have to go and approach that conversation in regards to help me understand how we've gotten here. your business has dropped 20% over the last 2 years, or your clients aren't showing any growth. Again, the same kind of dialogue or conversation you would have with any other employee in the business, but you're actually doing it with the intent of hopefully finding out whether this individual is worried or concerned about their book of business as much as you are. And then if they are getting tired, they come to you and say, you know what, I just feel overwhelmed. I just don't have the energy to do this much business anymore. Or I really think maybe we need to start training somebody to take over my book. Again, as long as they're somewhat driving that conversation and opening up the door, it's totally okay for you to say, well, help me understand, what timetable are you looking at? You're appreciated here, but we understand if you would like to pick a date to retire, let us help you exit out comfortably. Let us identify some people that can start taking some of this work over for you. What I find sometimes is that we fail to remember a couple key pieces as well when it comes to the exit. Make sure that they understand if they're going to pick the exit date, then make sure you get a resignation letter. Have them put that in writing. What I see most often is someone will drop the hint, oh, I don't want to be involved in that project. Don't give me any more responsibility. I plan on being out of here in a year. And everybody just takes that as, oh, okay, they're going to retire. But yet, what does that mean in terms of timing? What do you mean next year? When next year? When do I need to start recruiting for somebody to take their place? What are they talking about? Exiting completely? Do they want to back down to part-time? Do they want to be on call? What exactly did that comment mean? So it's totally comfortable getting a resignation letter with a proposed retirement date a year in advance. And explain to them, look, I'm just trying to make sure that we're both on the same page. If you want to stay for another 9 months, that's great. I'm thrilled. That gives me more time to make sure that the person who takes over and fulfills your role will have plenty of time to work with you and train. Or that we'll make sure that it's a right fit and we've got somebody who's going to be as committed to the company as you are. Get it in writing. Now, can this date change? Well, there's a good chance it might. And what you might have is someone who says they want to retire, but then won't give you the letter. They won't commit to a date, which can be just as frustrating as not knowing anything. So again, if they're not going to give you a date in writing, you have every right to go back and say, wait a minute, last time we talked, this is what you were proposing. I need to know, are you still committed to that? Because again, we've got a lot writing on this. I need to know if I need to recruit somebody. I need to know if I need to transfer somebody. You can easily and comfortably go back to that retirement conversation, use the word retirement, and ask for something in writing. And if they balk again, then go back to the performance, stress the standards and expectations that they have to fulfill to stay in the role successfully. And if you do need them to take on additional responsibility, that they've got to give you a reason why. They have to give you a reason why they're standing here deciding, cherry picking what they want to work on and what they don't want to work on. No matter what, showing the employee that you completely appreciate what they're doing, that you want to celebrate the opportunity to retire with them, and that you're not pushing. Because pushing can be in several forms, but it is not good. So again, try to control those conversations and meet the same goal that the employee is trying to meet. You'll be much, much happier all the way through this process. And your other employees will be watching, and they'll appreciate it as well. Danielle, thanks for the question. Hope that helps. And for all the rest of you, remember, we're here for you at the Human Resource.